Welcome to another module. This one is thriving in the platform economy. Folks, you're going to get lots of information about a seismic shift that is going on right now, and most people aren't aware of it, but 32 of the largest 100 corporations in the world are platforms, and 7 out of the top 10 are platforms. You're going to learn today how you can understand and implement platforms in your business over the next 2-3 years. So rather than platforms taking advantage of you, we're going to teach you how to take advantage of platforms. Ernesto, you've got a great presentation. Let's get right into it and go to your desktop.
Absolutely, let's do that. Let's get started with this presentation that I want to call Thriving in the Platform Economy. This is a very important module because platforms is exactly where the world is moving. So one thing that is super important for you to understand is that this is a concept that is going to be difficult for you to grasp. So the way that I want you to understand this concept is like if it will be a chicken broth or a chicken bouillon, a square. So what happens with these squares is that you actually put them on hot water and then they suddenly going to start expanding, and this is exactly how things are going to work. Now, you have to take all this information in 2 different ways, the Aristotelic way and also the Edison way. So what do I mean with that? Aristotle used to think of everything empirical. You first of all have to understand how the concept works before you can start experimenting exactly like Thomas Alva Edison used to do. So you have to take it in 2 steps. Now, I love this quote because I think it really makes exactly the point of what I want to convey right now. It reminds me too much of how little life changes. How, without dramatic events or high results, without tragedy, without pathos, a reasonably endowed, reasonably well-intentioned man can walk through the world's great kitchen from end to end and arrive at the back hungry. The reason why I'm making sure that you understand this concept is because you need to get into consideration that I'm going to give you so much information that it's up to you to figure out how you can get it inside of every fiber of your being. So my role as a leader and the role of a leader is simply creating clarity. That's the most important task. And this is exactly what I'm going to do. Now, the platform has different levels and has different ways of seeing it. And there are many different ways on how to take advantage of this viable business model. For example, in the sharing economy, which is another word to call the platform economy, there's always 3 elements. In this case, for example, the owner of a business, then there is the seeker or the prospective customer, and then we have the platform which is in the middle. So you could be either one of the 3 and benefit. But not only that, you could also use a platform to have access to a market, or you can also use a platform to get more customers, or to provide offers, or to request offers, or to rent, or to have fees, or to have service fees, or to share different assets, or to recommend. Every single thing is exactly what the sharing economy is, or the platform economy. This module is about understanding and thinking differently. So let's see different ways in how you can benefit from a platform. So the first way in how you can benefit from a platform is if you are the platform yourself, as I explained to you in the previous slide. The second is if you create a platform with others. The third one is if you leverage an existing platform, and the fourth one is a combination of all of the above. All these options require you to open up and rethink and reorganize and retool. That's why the first thing that you need to understand is, first of all, the empirical way of seeing things, and then how to exercise and how to experiment and how to implement this theory in your business. So let me just share with you why everybody must be open to this new reality. And this is exactly what Frank was mentioning a little bit earlier. From the world 100 biggest companies, 32 of those biggest companies are platforms. But this is the one which is even more impressive. Out of those 100, 7 out of the top 10 are platforms. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Alphabet, which in this case is Google, Facebook, Tencent, which is an e-commerce platform in China, and Alibaba. What is that telling you? This didn't happen a long time ago. I mean, Facebook has been in existence for, let's say, 20 years, 25 years, whatever it is. I don't know. Amazon, very similarly. Apple, a little bit longer. Microsoft, a little bit longer. But if you compare it to companies that have been for hundreds of years, suddenly these companies are taking over. Why does that happen? Because the paradigm has shifted. So one of the reasons why we are presenting this is because we want to make sure that you do not get caught blindsided. The business paradigm has shifted. Let me share an example for you so that you will understand what has happened. In the 1980s, beginning of the 1990s, when the compact disc just started, Sony had created something that was the laser disc. The laser disc was really big. It was the same size of an LP, you know, those long play albums. So what happened is, because of the technology, you could put up to 18 hours of information inside there. So you could put 4 or 5 different films. But that, of course, was not practical. So what happened? Suddenly one day, Philips introduced the smaller version of it, and Sony disappeared virtually from that market. So that's why it's so important that you understand the cautionary tales of how not understanding this concept that we're sharing to you are going to happen. Because it's not that they're happening only to huge companies. They can also happen to small companies, and more importantly, to verticals and industry. So one of the things that you need to think about right now is, what is happening in my industry? Is there a platform that is actually getting into my industry? How is it happening? You need to be aware. That's why the empirical knowledge is absolutely critical. In 2015, Amazon actually crossed with Walmart, and they had about the same market cap. Right now, if we go to 2021 and beyond, Amazon is going to keep on growing because Walmart has a lot of shops. So of course the market cap is very difficult for Walmart to get it at the same size as Amazon. But here's what is very important. Walmart understood exactly what was going on. So look at this. Even though that they don't have the same market capitalization, they are having a very strong market share of the retail sales. If you see right now, Walmart has 9.5% and Amazon has 9.2%. And in 2019, it was 8.9 and 6.8. So this is the reason why it's so important that you understand everything as a concept. So before we start getting into all the knowledge that you need to understand, we have to, first of all, talk about the gig economy. So what is the gig economy? There's a great book that I want to recommend about the gig economy if you want to deepen into this knowledge of what's going on. This book was written by Diane Mulcahy, which I do not know if it's actually related to Frank or not, but anyway, that's irrelevant. Now, you're seeing a picture here of a busker. If you do not know what a busker is, because that's a British word, is a street artist. This is a street artist that started singing songs in 2018 or 2019, and right now, after 2 or 3 years, she's the biggest internet sensation and she's making a fortune. And she understood very well that every time that she was busking, that she was actually playing on the street, she was having a gig. Now, why am I telling you this? Because sometimes, not for everybody, the word gig is very clear. What's the difference between a gig and a job? Well, if you have a job, that means that you're an employee, that you're actually getting paid at the end of the month a certain amount of money. If you're having a gig, for example, like a carpenter or a plumber, every time that you go to a house to fix somebody's toilet or to make somebody a chair or a piece of furniture, you are having a gig. That's exactly what a gig is. So me as a speaker, and everyone which is a speaker, we have been trained and we have been conditioned to basically do and follow or chase gigs. So as you can see me here, every time that I present myself in any presentation, I am following a gig. Now, for most people, whenever they go to school, what they have been educated is on jobs, not on gigs. So they do not understand that they need to have a portfolio. They do not understand that they need a brand. They do not understand that collaboration, that communication are very important, that building soft skills is very important, that also your emotional intelligence is super important. Now, what happened is that during COVID-19, there's been a huge shift because COVID-19 created a huge wave of unemployment. The moment that people saw themselves unemployment, what did they start doing without having absolutely any experience? Well, they started chasing gigs to survive. So they started delivering Uber Eats or driving Uber or trying to do whatever they could to survive. So the gig economy right now, it's growing like never before. If we see how it is in the United States, 36% of the workers are part of the gig economy. That's 57.3 million people. And out of that, 29% of all workers have an alternative job as their primary job. In 2018, full-time independent workers generated $1.28 trillion in revenue for the US economy. Right now, the gig economy is expanding 3 times faster than the entire US workforce. So the impact that we have seen from COVID, it's because of course people wanted some supplementary income because they didn't have enough to sustain themselves. Now, what they find out throughout the pandemic was that they could actually survive with a gig. So right now, what we are seeing is something that is called the irreversible effects of the pandemic. Right now, amidst the pandemic, 23 million new participants joined the pool of gig workers in the United States. And 75% began freelancing, achieving financial stability during COVID-19. And that's exactly the reason why everyone is hiring, but nobody wants a job.
Ernesto, that was a great presentation talking about the gig economy, because that was a seismic shift and it still is a seismic shift. And we also have to understand, folks, that we also have the resignation generation out there, because everybody's hiring and everybody's leaving the jobs they're at to have their own business. And we talked about the gig economy, Ernesto, and you have to understand the gig economy to take advantage of the platform and thrive in the platform economy. So why don't we get in and share with them how to understand and implement in the platform economy?
Let's do that. So now it's time to talk about platforms. And if we think about in 60 seconds in the internet, let's see how many platform interactions we have. We could be in Skype, we could be in Foursquare, we could possibly be in Dropbox, YouTube, Facebook, Google, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, sending emails, Netflix, Tumblr, Vimeo, Tinder, every app that is downloaded, Yelp, Imgur, Eventbrite. So as you can see, every time that we're inside on the internet, normally we are interacting with a platform. Now, if you're thinking about the gig economy, let's see what gigs you can get through the App Store. For example, and this is really surprising, you could actually get adult content creation, porn stars in a simple language, audio content creator, chefs, coaches, community leaders, content creators, e-commerce, event organizers, drivers, fitness instructors, gamers, health, live streaming, personal shopper, pet caretaker, podcasters, rentals, resellers, restaurant workers, salesperson, tasks and services, teacher, tech, video course creator, writer. All of that is inside of the app stores. That is just crazy. Now you can get gigs in many ways and many sectors in different descriptions. You can asset share, you can get transportation-based services, you can get professional services, you can get handmade goods, household miscellaneous services, every single thing, which is just absolutely crazy. In fact, there's not only one gig economy, there are 3 gigs economy. So if we think about it, we have the on-demand economy, we have the sharing economy, and we have the crowdsources economy. So if we start putting everything around, we can see why people are finding it very interesting and very easy to work in the gig economy. First of all, 48% like the gig economy because they have a lot more control. 19% they are doing it because they're seeking a better job. 48% are balancing, trying to figure out how to balance their career and their family needs. Some of them need supplementary income, and some of them want to make some money on the side. And this is just the reason why it will never ever go back to what it was before the pandemic. So what we have to start doing is we have to start looking at the world in terms of ecosystems. An ecosystem is the bigger picture, and inside there's going to be multiple platforms. So you can have cloud platforms, you can have communication platforms, payment platforms, labor platforms, social media platforms, and all of them could be working inside a specific ecosystem, and you can combine different platforms. So what we need to understand about platforms is that platforms integrate themselves into various ecosystems. Online marketplaces, app stores, collaborative, video sharing, payments, internet search engines, specialized search tools, location-based businesses, news aggregators, all of these platforms live inside different platforms. Now what happens is that possibly we are using some platforms and some ecosystems, but every generation has a different ecosystem. For example, if we just think about the millennials or Generation C, they have their own ecosystem. They are going into Roblox, ByteDance, Instacart, Didi, Discord, and possibly some of these you have never heard. So that's why it's very important that you understand that this world goes into different ecosystems. Now, there's two kinds of platforms. The first one is the exchange platform, where there's going to be services, products, payments, investments, social networking, communications, gaming, and then there's going to be the maker platform, where it's going to be the content platforms, there's going to be also the development platforms, there's going to be also the control development platforms, which are, for example, the app stores, and also the open development platform, so like Linux and all the stuff that you can do in an open platform. So all of these little bits and pieces are the exact bricks in how you can create the infrastructure of a platform that you can create. So how are platforms dominating our way of life? Possibly for you today, you went to the office and you had two choices. You could either drive and take and use Waze as a way of navigating, which is very useful, or possibly you don't have a car and you are going through Lyft or Cabify or Uber. And as you can see on this second example, Lyft is also combining platforms to get payments to the people which are drivers, to the company. So that's why it's so important that you understand is that this is not the future anymore. It is the present. Right now, platforms are blending real life and the digital world. So now let's have a small introduction to what the platform world is all about. In platforms, as we were mentioning earlier, we have producers, or we have owners, or we have creators, and then we have consumers. And inside or in the middle, it's a platform. And what happens inside of the platform are the elements of value exchange. So if we think about it, that platform is always going to have rules and architecture. Let's just think of Facebook. If you are doing something in Facebook that Facebook doesn't like, they're going to block you, because of course that's part of the rules and architecture. That will happen in every platform. The second thing that you need to understand about the platforms is that in some cases they are open and they allow regulated participation, which is in many cases of the social media platforms, for example. They can actively promote positive interactions among different partners in a multi-sided market. So in this case, let's say that you want to rent a house, you can go to VRBO or you can go to Airbnb, and you do that through a platform. And the last part is that a platform is going to be scaling much faster than a pipeline business, because it does not necessarily bear the cost of external production. So what is a pipeline business? That's exactly what the huge seismic change has happened. As you can see on the picture on the right, the traditional business, you had a company or a firm, you created a product, you created value, and then it went to the customer. The value was that on a traditional business. On a platform business, the platforms have disrupted the value creation, enabling external participants to supply value. So what does that mean? You can have many different participants to come over here to a platform. You possibly own the platform, and then both of you, either the owner of the platform or whoever is providing a service, is going to be able to find new clients or find new renters or find new people that require their services. Can you see the difference? This is super important. You have to start thinking everything is changing from pipeline into platform. That was the traditional business, and this is the new way of seeing things. Right now on the internet, there are 150 available platforms to make money without a job. And guess what? This is just getting started. Every single platform that you see here has a business model. So where is the future of the economy moving? To a new world of business models. So in the industrial age, in the information age, you had a factory, you produce something, and then you had to actually mass market it through marketing, and that's how you reach your consumer. Right now, you have the potential of getting everybody inside of your platform and find people with different expectations so that you will be able to provide that to them. So a platform, it's a way to pair consumers and producers. So for example, YouTube pairs viewers and content creators, Amazon buyers with sellers, Uber's passenger with drivers, Apple users with app developers, Airbnb travelers with homeowners, Wikipedia readers with content creators, Facebook users with users, Google users with content repositories. So every single one of them is a business model. Let's just have a look at the Canvas business model of Uber. If you have never heard of the business model Canvas, I suggest that you Google it, because it's exactly the different things that you need to create in order to put together a business model. And the moment that you can fit a business model Canvas, that means that you have a viable business model. So this is the business model from Uber. Now, this is very interesting because of course you're familiar with how Uber works. But let's see, how would you grow or how you diversify when you're working in a platform environment? Just have a look at this slide here. First of all, Uber started with a regular service that you know from Uber. Then they started renting scooters and small bikes all over in different cities. Then they got another one in Dubai, for example. They have helicopters. So they have helicopters, and that's just something else that they can do because they have the platform. They can also have Uber delivery by basically using Uber to deliver food to people. They have also the possibility of shipping cargo, or they can also have one-way trips and or driverless vehicles, and that's how they grow their business model. So as you can see, there is no way back. This is exactly how the world is going. The same thing happens with Airbnb. The moment that you can put a platform inside a business model canvas, then you have a viable business model. Definitely, I recommend that you search for the business model canvas, because this will show you exactly if what you're intending to do is going to be viable or not, and how you can actually use the platform. There are 4 critical components of the gig economy. You have freelancers, freelancing platforms, consumers, and businesses. All these 4, you're going to find them in every single platform. Now, here's a concept that I really want you to understand. This is super important. Bill Gates, in January 23, 2017, on an interview, he said, "A platform is when the economic value of everybody that uses it exceeds the value of the company that creates it. Then that's a platform."
Ernesto, great quote by Bill Gates. It's such a great quote. I wrote it down. Let me repeat it because I think it's important for everybody to understand one more time. Bill Gates said, "A platform is when the economic value of everybody that uses it exceeds the value of the company that creates it. Then it's a true platform." Folks, if you want to take part of this seismic shift that is going on, rather than the platform using you, we want you to use the platform. Look at Amazon. They built a beautiful, had the infrastructure. They wanted to sell books better than Walden, better than Borders Books, and they were doing a great job. But then their executive team got together and they understood the platform. So they opened it up to the Amazon marketplace. And what happened, they brought in 1 million sellers, and Jeff Bezos becomes the richest man in the United States. In the world, yeah. And not to be outdone. And that was even after his divorce, right? And then not to be outdone, Walmart didn't want to go down. They still have their pipeline business, but they have the e-commerce, the Walmart e-commerce. And folks, Uber and Airbnb and Fiverr and Upwork, folks, it's never going to end. So the question is, are you going to use the platform model, or are you going to let the platform model use you? Because the shift is coming. Right now with the Grow and Protect, Ernesto and I, we're using the platform model. We're opening it up to people like you. We're opening it up to people like Richard Scully with Chamber Nation. We're opening it up with our resellers over in India and Dubai and in Spain. And every conversation that Ernesto and I have, the grow and protect becomes bigger. It becomes more valuable, but not for Ernesto and I, but for you and for the others that are coming. And I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, Ernesto, but people should not be surprised if in the next 4, 5, 6, 7 months, we don't have people like Les Brown, Brian Tracy, Jack Canfield, all contributing, because when you have a platform with the marketplace that these people want to reach out to, everybody grows and all ships rise with the tide. So Ernesto, let's make sure that they get on the collaboration calls so we can answer all their questions.
Absolutely. Let's just go straight away into some more examples so that you can see exactly where and how these platforms are being used, so that you can start getting onto the groove of thinking on that way. And also, let's make sure that you understand exactly how is that we are implementing the Grow and Protect app. Have a look. So welcome back to my screen. And now what we're going to be doing is we are going to be talking about different examples. But before we go into any example, it's important that we put into perspective the two elements, the ecosystem and then the different platforms. So the Apple ecosystem. In the Apple ecosystem, you have computers, you have iPads, you have the App Store. In the App Store, you can get CNN app, the Pinterest app, you can get the Facebook app, you can get so many different apps. You can also get some of the different apps which have been created directly by Apple. You can have all sorts of different things that you can also include, like iMovie or the App Store or everything. And then you have the different cloud systems, and then you have the App Store. Every single thing is an ecosystem. So the most important thing is that you understand that we are living in different ecosystems, and we could be going from one ecosystem to the other, and we could also have cross-platform ecosystems. So if you are thinking of a platform, yes, it needs to be available in Android, but it also needs to be available in Apple. It also needs to be available in Word, and it needs to be available in Google Docs. It also needs to be available in PC, and it also needs to be available for Mac. Those kind of things are things that are basically important in part of the ecosystem. All effective business models are now based on platforms, not pipelines. You don't have to go first into the production, distribution, marketing before it gets to the customer. You have everything inside the ecosystem and the platform, and that's how the whole system works. Every platform is now divided in different verticals. So you have transportation platforms, you have finance platforms, you have consumer good platforms, space platforms, which basically means if you're going to be renting a room or whatever it is, you have personal services, you have professional services, and there's other different verticals that are also being served. Let's just have a look at some examples. And this is super interesting because you're going to see how people that understand this concept are doing incredible business. This summer, I learned about a platform that is called Swimply, and this is a new way of thinking for opportunities. Somebody understood that because of the pandemic, possibly they didn't really want to go to a public pool or anything like that, and then he created a platform where you can rent private pools. You should check it out in swimply.com. So just think about it. There's people that can rent their pool, because if you have a pool, possibly you're going to be using it once a week or once a day, and then you can rent it all the other time. It is actually mentioned that people that are doing this, they were earning about $2,500 per week. Same thing happened for boats. If you have a boat, possibly you use it once a month. Whenever you're not using it, you can rent it and you can make money. Same thing happens for airplanes. You can now rent private airplanes, and guess what? In many cases, they're going to be a lot less expensive than just a regular airline ticket. How about if you have an RV? You can also go there and rent your RV. If you're using it once or twice a year, you can rent it and make money out of it. How about making money as a dog walker? There's plenty of dog walker platforms. That's another great way of making money. How about as a babysitter? I mean, everybody's always wanting to go out, but they need a babysitter. Now there's a way that we'll find locally babysitters for you. Or let's say that you have some sort of equipment or tools. There's also an equipment and tool rental platform that you can go there and rent your equipment that you're not going to be using every day. This is the one that amazes me. There's an influencer marketing for e-commerce. So let's say that you want to connect with an influencer that has millions and millions of followers. Well, you can actually connect with them using Green. And this is also another way how platforms are working on that specific vertical. Or possibly you didn't know about Cameo. Cameo, what they do is they do personal celebrity videos for you. So you can hire a celebrity to make a specific video for you, and you pay the celebrity to do that video for you. That is crazy. And the latest one that I have seen, which is just incredible. Let's say that you're a big hospital and you have an MRI, and the MRI you're only using about 30 to 40% of the time that you have the MRI. And of course, these machines cost a lot of money. So you can actually rent the MRI to smaller hospitals or clinics. So can you see how that works? So in reality, a platform, all it is, it's a way to get together supply and demand. And this is applicable for everything. The biggest secret is being the owner of the platform where suppliers meet consumers. So this is just food for thought. I don't say that you have to do it. But if you have this in mind, now you're going to start seeing business in a completely different way. This is the exact same business model of all successful companies. They own the companies when supply and demand meet. All those logos there that you for sure recognize, that's exactly what they do. So now let's talk about opportunity, because this is also something that is very important for you to understand in this concept of platforms. What are the biggest mistakes of the incumbent businesses? Now, what is an incumbent business? In the past, you see everything was about being different or being dominant or being discreet or being disruptive. Right now, it is about understanding what are the mistakes that the incumbent businesses are creating, or what is the market that they are not taking care of. So if we think about it, Kodak was a cautionary tale from an incumbent business. For years, Kodak was the company that dominated everything that had to do with pictures. But they didn't understand that digital photography was coming in, and suddenly right now Kodak has almost disappeared. Or how about this other example? Possibly you remember Blockbuster Video. They also went bankrupt because they didn't see what Netflix was doing. What was the big difference between Blockbuster and Netflix? Do you remember how Blockbuster really made their money? Because of all the late fees. Netflix said, this is exactly what I am not going to do, and that's how Netflix got started. Here's another more recent dramatic example. Taxis were incredibly arrogant. And if you wanted to have a taxi in a big city like Chicago or like New York, if you wanted to get one of those medallions, which was the license to drive the license, possibly will cost you $350,000 or $500,000 to get the medallion. Now those medallions are useless. Why? Because of course the business model changed through a platform. An intelligent decision was actually taken on Berlin on this. And this is also one of those learning points which I think is important for you. In Berlin, suddenly Uber took over, and the taxi drivers started getting paranoid. So instead of actually saying we are the incumbent and we are the strong people and we're going to be able to get this market, they said, you know what? I think it's more intelligent that we all use Uber, and right now every taxi in Berlin is Uber. And the story continues. The same thing happens with Airbnb and with hotels. So now you understand that everybody which is an incumbent is having a market which they are not taking care of. If there are 4 ways to grow a business in the past, supporting new systems, or possibly creating new opportunities, or possibly trying to retreat in higher grounds and sell more expensive your products, right now what is really working very, very well is addressing the unserved markets. So I went back to my history as an airline employee, and I remember that whenever they were going to open a new route, I was working for KLM. In this case, this is actually the airport from Denver. Denver wanted to position themselves as a hub because, of course, you have Miami, you have Chicago, you have New York, you have LA, you have Houston, you have Dallas, but Denver wanted also to be a hub. So they started analyzing what were the people traveling to Denver, from which destinations they were coming. And what they realized was that the first opportunity was Amsterdam. That was an unserved market for them. Then it was Copenhagen and South America. Then it was Seoul and Rome. And then it was New Zealand and Dubai. And then it was Beijing and Istanbul. And that's how they actually created the hub, which is right now in Denver. So then I started saying, well, how can I apply this to my own business? So the first thing that I have to do was stop thinking in pipelines and start thinking in platforms. As a pipeline, I could not be competing with many markets or with many people which have an advantage to me. However, if I have a platform, I have a number of people which are unserved that I can serve within a platform. Let me just be a little bit specific here. For a number of years, I was teaching internet marketing. But what happened was that I was really trying to help business owners and entrepreneurs. But the ones that were having a lot more success were the ones that were using gullibility of people and telling them, if you follow my course, you're going to become an internet millionaire. You're going to have a mansion. You're going to have a Lamborghini. There's going to be all sorts of girls in bikinis. And that, of course, it's something that I don't really want to teach. So I realized that the incumbent guru world, they had a market that was completely unattended. One of the things that I started realizing was that the incumbent guru world, all the gurus were going for the gullible people that wanted to pay thousands of dollars to learn the secrets in how to become internet millionaires, how to have girls on bikinis, how to have Lamborghinis, and how to also have big mansions. But that is not the market that I identified myself with. So I said, there is a market that is completely unattended. I realized that instant gratification, gullibility, cheap online advertising, and lack of results have killed the digital marketing educational market. Now, the sad part about this whole thing is, as Mark Twain said, it is easier to fool people than to convince them that they have been fooled. So I could have tried to go, and in fact I tried to say, well, there's a lot of these people which are doing these kind of things. But then I said, well, I need to understand that I have to create a new market. I have to look for another market. Who is not served right now? Right now here on screen you're seeing three of the people which are at the top of the game in the self-help and internet marketing world. I have tremendous respect for them. They are not the gurus which are trying to sell you into doing something and you're going to become an internet millionaire. They are people which are really serious, and I have tremendous admiration for them. Now, my choice was, I'm going to try to attack them because, of course, they are the incumbent, but they have such a strong presence on the internet that it was going to be crazy. So I had to start thinking, well, who is going to be my ideal market? And my ideal market, it's very similar to what they are offering. So I said, okay, I have the first clue. So the next question that I asked myself was, who are the incumbents in our marketplace? So in my marketplace, I identified the three of them, and let's say 4 or 5 other people which are also the incumbents in my marketplace. And then, of course, I asked myself the most important question: what's the unserved market segment? Who aren't they taking care of? Because when I asked that question, that's when the answers started happening. So whenever we're putting together a business, what Frank and I do is we try to figure out who is the avatar. In fact, when we started putting together the Freemium to Freedom, and we started together putting the mastermind, and we started putting together Grow and Protect, we started asking ourselves, well, who is the avatar? When you are putting together a business plan, you have to first of all think of who is your avatar, who's going to be your exact target audience. So right now I already expressed to you that what I wanted to do was not attack the incumbents, not attack the Tony Robbins, not attack the Dean Graziosi and the Russell Brunson and a number of different speakers that have the same kind of knowledge that I have. Basically, what I needed to do was find out who was the target audience that they were not serving. So one of the things that I realized was that most of the people that they were not serving, they were between the ages of 43 and 75. So that fits in what it's called the baby boomers and Generation X. In the knowledge part, first of all, it's the internet literacy. The baby boomers have it limited, Generation X has intermediate. In online marketing, baby boomers very limited, Generation X very limited. In branding, baby boomers very limited, Generation X very limited. Then I needed to find out which gurus did they follow, who were the people that they were buying their information. And what I realized was that very little baby boomers actually knew some of the people that were the incumbents. Same thing happened with Generation X. In marketing, they were more into traditional marketing. In the customer journey, they were completely unaware or had very limited knowledge. So what were their challenges? Their challenges was that they didn't really have too much digital know-how, but they consider it important. I also knew that they didn't really know how to do, and I confirmed that they didn't know how to do. But this is something which is very interesting. They all wanted to learn either on an assisted way, on a self-learning, and this is the one that I like the most. This audience has a budget available. Say they will be able to buy my products. And that's when I got very excited, and that's when I, having this conversation with Frank, also led us in the part of the developing what we have been developing. So the unserved avatar was not the people that wanted to become an internet millionaire. What we were looking for were the people that wanted to grow their business using digital platforms. They want to tell the story, demonstrate their expertise, describe their offer, reach new markets, and of course, grow their visibility. So then we realized that what we needed to have was something that is called a MOOC, which is a massive open online course. That led us to understand that the way to do this was using something that is called a learning management system, LMS for short. And this simply means that you have a platform, and in this platform you're going to create content, which could be in video, which could be in audio, which could be in written format, whatever you want, and we have to serve it to the other people. So this is exactly how we created the Grow and Protect app. And then we started realizing that LMSs was something incredibly important for so many different companies, because what they wanted to find out is, how can I train my employees? So we said, wow, this is great. If we have an LMS, we can get inside different corporations. So what's the difference between Udemy and an LMS? You have possibly seen Udemy, where you can go and buy courses. Yes, then you have separate courses, but an LMS, you will be able to have interaction. You will be able to have a calendar, discussions. You can have different trainers. You can have different rooms. You can have webinars. You can also grade, or you can give certifications, all sorts of different things. So it's not the same buying a course anymore than using an LMS. That's the big difference. So the obsolete model of selling courses is trying to sell a course for $2,997. Right now, every company, and it doesn't matter how big they are trying to figure out how to implement an LMS, which is of course another opportunity. If you know companies that are looking for ways in how to implement an LMS, let us know. We can possibly work together. When we started realizing all these things, we said, oh my goodness, this is a huge opportunity. But then the big question was, where do we find these exact people? And because Frank has tremendous knowledge on how chambers of commerce work, this is what we created. After doing our due diligence, we realized that chambers of commerce have a lot of members that are completely oblivious of who these gurus are, and they do not know much about internet literacy, and they do not know much about branding, but they require the help. How can we help them? Simple, by offering free education in exchange of exposure by using a platform. Through the incredible network that Frank has, he also got together with another platform. Their name is Chamber Nation. And this was just incredible because they have over 1,000 chambers which are really requiring these services. So one of the things that you need to realize is who in my area, who in my business has a platform, because of course I could work with them. And this is exactly what we did. We are providing the content for Chamber Nation that they cannot create, and that is serving them, and that is also serving everybody which is on their network. So just think about it. If they are 1,000, let's say that 100 or 200 of these chambers are going to get inside our platform, and everyone is going to have 100 or 200 members. Can you see how the members start multiplying, and that specific target market that we're looking for is exactly there? So the question is very simple. We started with something in this mastermind that was called the freemium to freedom model. So how do you enter an unserved market? And this is one of the things that we discovered. First of all, we said, well, if we give it away for free, because all these people didn't really understand how the freemium model worked, they said, well, but something that you get for free is not going to have any value. So then we gave it a price, and then everybody's going to get a promo code so that they can either get it for free or get it for $1. Once again, this is also a business model. If you see the business model canvas, freemium also has a business model canvas. So that means that it could actually be a viable business model. Now, if you think about it, what we are doing is we are creating a sort of Trojan horse effect. We are getting into Troy, if you want to put it this way, and what we want is we want to get access to them by providing tremendous value. So how are we doing this? And this is one of those things that you need to really get your mind off, especially if you're a speaker. If you go to a chamber of commerce will hardly ever pay for you to be there. But why do you go to an event? Because of course you're going to be exposed to other businesses. So speakers are seldom paid to speak on a chamber of commerce. Why do speakers accept to speak for free? Because of course they're going to have the possibility of being exposed to a market. And this is the magic of a platform. We will have exposure overall to multiple markets. And yes, we can work together with you. If you're a content creator, if you're somebody which is having a product or something which is valuable to the organization, yes, we can figure it out, because now we know exactly what goes inside of the platform. So this is exactly what we have created after we have done our due diligence. In very simple words, as one of my early mentors always said, you can have everything in life you want if you will just help enough other people get what they want. I recommend that you go to growandprotect.app and you can see exactly how we created this platform. Now, what are you going to find inside of this platform? The knowledge that they require, or the know-how that they require at the right time. Like, for example, cyber awareness, Zoom mastery, how to create a profit architecture, LinkedIn mastery, mastering YouTube, dominating Google, cold calling, how to avoid cold calling, attracting new clients. And that, on top of that, what we are doing is we are creating value by having 15-minute free consultations, which of course, I mean, if they want our services, we will of course charge for them. We also can provide speakers, or we could have also speaker opportunities, and we're also going to have international networking events for them. So as you can see, every single thing is how you make it a platform. Now, at this point, you might be wondering, what am I going to do with all this information? What am I going to do with all this knowledge? Well, first of all, I just wanted you to be aware of it. Second, I want you to stay with us, because this is just the beginning and there's going to be a lot more to come. This is just the concept. This is just the empiric. The practice is going to come throughout the time that we're going to be growing, and we're going to be growing together. And also, if you want to learn more about the platform revolution, this is what you need to do. Make sure that you buy this book, Platform Revolution, by Jeffrey Parker, Marshall Van Alstyne, and Sanjit Paul Chowdhury. Those are the things that I would like to recommend. So there you go. It's been a heavy session. I have to congratulate you in being there. Apparently, we lost Frank somewhere on the presentation. But anyway, while Frank returns, I hope that he makes it before we actually finish this session. And if not, I just want to say that I am incredibly grateful that you are in the Hero's Journey Mastermind. I hope that all the information that I have shared with you, at least it has already created this way of thinking that everything is going to go into platforms. Super important. Right now, what I recommend that you do is that you start observing all the platforms that you're using when you're on the internet, that you are really trying to see how we can implement all these things. And of course, If you are with us, make sure that you are also going into several of the chambers, and that we have everything already set for you to receive the not for you to receive, but more than anything for the chambers to receive everything, so that you don't have to really worry anything about. Make sure to contact Frank, make sure to contact me. And once again, it's been an absolute pleasure being today on Thursday, September 23rd, 2021, with a date that, of course, it's going to start changing the way that you think about the internet. In that case, Frank is not arriving. I don't see him anymore, so possibly he had a technical challenge. But anyway, thank you and see you very soon. Bye-bye.